Welcome back to the AB Scale Project. I'm Krager, and this is Alpha Bravo. And in this episode, we'll be looking at the shells with the prize inside, the Pretenders. These were a series of Russian doll type toys that had the robot hidden inside of an organic shell. They popped up mostly in comics, with only Bludgeon really showing up in American animation. Most of the first waves were shown in the Japanese animation, but mostly the characters were in the comics. I've covered the ones that appeared in the IDW More Than Meets the Eye comics in the previous episodes linked below. For the toys, most of them only got a G1 representation like Chainclaw here. A few got updates in the Power of the Primes like Cloudburst here. For these, G1 is still the better toy for the scale with IDW. But we'll return to the Prime Masters when we get to the 13 Primes. But that's another episode. Customs are always an option, of course. For now, we're just going to take a look at the ones that were lucky enough to get more mold love down the line. First up is Grin. He got a Generations and a Power of the Primes update. I've got the Straxus version here of the mold. It has some trouble standing, but overall it's not a bad mold. So between all these, the Generation wins. Also, incidentally, the Generation wins for Straxus as well, since this is the only one that you can find that's not a Legends. Iguanus did get a name reuse in Beast Wars. I've got the Cybertron Recluse in for a height stand-in. They're both lizards, right? I don't actually have the G1 inner robot, but that inner robot was what IDW used, so G1 wins. Octopunch got a G1, a Power of the Primes, and a BotCon that was a recolor of Seaspray here. I couldn't get a hold of his Pretender shell for G1. First, I want to remove the Power of the Primes for scale. The IDW comics used his shell and his inner robot from G1, so G1 wins for IDW. Although if you have the BotCon, I think it makes a pretty good version for display. Next up, we got Metalhawk. This was a neutral in the Cybertronian Triumvirate until Starscream murdered him in the IDW comics. For recolor stand-in, we have Generations Thunderwing for the BotCon Metalhawk, and we've got Cloudburst here as a height stand-in for G1. For playability, we'll remove G1. For scale, we'll remove the Prime Master. We're down to the BotCon and the Titan's Return. Both are valid for G1. For IDW, they use the inner robot, so the Titan Returns wins for IDW. Next is Skyhammer. He really didn't show up much in G1 media, and not at all in IDW. For a height stand-in, I've got Chainclaw's inner robot for his G1 inner robot. For a recolor stand-in, I've got the BotCon Sandstorm in for the Dark of the Moon version. For playability, we'll remove G1 and the RID 2015. We have no idea for scale, but between the PCC and the Dark of the Moon is definitely the better toy, so the winner is the Dark of the Moon. Next up, we're going to look at the Scourge of Cybertron, Thunderwing, and his moldmate, the Decepticon Phase 6er Black Shadow. They were mold mates up to Titan's Return, where Thunderwing only got ahead. To heal the karmic balance, Thunderwing did get a third party with a Geartron Thunderstorm that MP10 is standing in for. For playability, we'll remove G1. For scale, Thunderwing is shown as gigantic in IDW, and Black Shadow is shown around Voyager class, so the Generations are out. For Black Shadow, the Titan's Return wins. For Thunderwing, the Geartron Thunderwing wins. I didn't buy the Geartron while it was available, so what I do for my shelves is put the TR head in the Nitro Zeus body. Bada boom, it works for me. For an honorable mention, our only late-stage Pretender we got was Oilmaster, brought to us by BotCon. He was a recreation of a concept double Pretender that wasn't produced for G1. I've got the Optimus Prime version here that they recolored for the Transformers Collectors Club. He definitely hits all the notes we expect from a Pretender, but the inner robot is actually posable. Overall, a really fun redo. And also, if you got this pack, you also got the Grand Maximus shell, so if you happen to get the G1 Fortress Maximus, You can have a shell if you bought this pack. Finally, we have the boogeyman of the IDW and the most metal of all Transformers, Bludgeon. This Metallico master was the chief henchman to almost every big bad in the verse. For height stand-ins, I've got Octopunch's Inner Robot for the original Inner Robot, Alley Viper for the SDCC, and MP Ironhide for the DNA Design Sans Nu. Recolor stand-ins are Revenge of the Fallen Wreckage for the first Revenge of the Fallen, and RID 2015 Blast Wave for the RID 2015 Bludgeon. I'm leaving out the RID 2001 Bludgeon because it doesn't look like the Inner Robot or the outer shell for Bludgeon. For playability, I'm removing the G1, the Power of the Primes, and the SDCC. For scale, he stood about Optimus Prime's height, and Optimus Prime should be a Voyager, so we're going to call him a Voyager. So, the first Revenge of the Fallen, the RID 2015, the Cyberverse, and the DNA are out. So we're left with the second Revenge of the Fallen and the TFCC. We have an Inner Robot representation and an Outer Shell homage. IDW used the Outer Shell for its design, plus I've already done the head swap, so the second Revenge of the Fallen wins for IDW. If you want the Inner Robot appearance, use the TFCC. Thanks for joining us today on the AB Scale Project. If there's a character you'd like to see, put your request in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later.